Paul pulled out a grenade and tossed it into the water. He meant to catch fish with a blast, but instead, a corpse floated up. To survive, Paul disguised himself as a corpse and lay by the shore, hunting. When a wild dog passed by, he grabbed a cleaver and killed it. He brought the dog back to his father, but his father scolded him for not removing the innards. The meat was now toxic and couldn't be eaten. They had no choice but to skin the dog and try to trade the hide for food. They went to the neighbor's house to exchange the skin for fish, but the neighbor, armed with a gun, claimed the dog was his. He only gave them the small fish. Paul resented the man deeply. The next morning, the neighbor shoved a gun into the father's mouth, accusing Paul of stealing his grenade. Paul didn't admit it, but to protect his father, he handed over a sweater as a gift. Only then did the neighbor leave. Right after, Paul's father slapped him. Paul didn't understand why his father was so harsh. Then one day, the tragedy came. Paul found his father lying still over his notebook. He had died from eating poisonous plants, a result of starvation. Paul knew the dead were buried at sea. He wrapped his father in canvas and laid him into the water. Later, Paul knocked the neighbor unconscious, releasing all his bottled up rage. He then tied the man upside down and drowned him in the water. Paul raided the man's house for supplies. He took a dagger and a gun. Next, he went to a blind witch's house for a meal. He asked if she could read the notebook, but she was blind. So he asked her to open the water gate so he could leave. He set out by boat to find someone who could read. At a distant manor, he met two farmers. He pointed a gun and demanded food and help reading. They agreed, but only if Paul worked their land. After tilling a field, they read just one page and stopped. Paul realized they had tricked him. They took him to a warehouse where a woman was locked in a cage. Now he saw their true nature. The woman told him her father could read, so Paul snuck her out, but one of the farmers caught them and took his notebook. Paul quickly drew his knife and stabbed the farmer. The other tackled Paul and tried to kill him until the woman stabbed him from behind. Together, they returned to her home, but her father had already passed away. They lit the house on fire to honor him. While looking for someone literate, they were captured by a brute and taken to an abandoned factory. Paul and the woman were separated. Paul asked the brute to read the notebook. That night, the man was moved by the father's loving words, but the gang boss found out and sliced off his ear. Still, the brute read the notebook to Paul. Paul finally understood how deeply his father loved him and how he wanted him to live strong and free. The brute, remembering his own son, decided to protect Paul. He set Paul free and wiped out the entire gang, but he stayed behind. In the end, Paul rescued the woman and escaped the factory by boat.